Hello, trumpet players. I got a request for a video, and it took me a while to get this done. But someone wanted to know, it was a junior high student, but this applies also to high school students or anybody who's going to do a competition. Someone wanted to know what to do if you're in the last days or the last weeks leading up to the competition and you don't feel like you're ready. So to start with, I want to emphasize the point that nobody goes to an audition. It's very rare. Nobody goes to the audition thinking that they've got everything covered. Now, I think it might be different at a higher level. So, if there's a competition that you've been working for 2 years and, like for example, the National Trumpet Competition, and let's say you planned years in advance, now maybe you can go to that competition and feel like you've got everything covered. The problem with that is probably, if you feel that way, you're probably not that good. You're probably missing something. Anyway, so my point is that you never feel like you're completely prepared. And I'm going to show you a chart here. I'm creating more work for myself, and I do want to get this done tonight. But I want you to see this chart because I like to use this chart. It's very simple. Now look at this. We've got a line that notates how good someone can be, and we're going to put a infinity at the top here, and then how bad someone can be, there's infinity at the bottom. Now this line in the middle, that's you. Okay? That's you. Now, this second line, that's you too. That's the you that would have prepared more. Now this third line, the blue one, that is you that didn't prepare as much as you did. Now looking at that graphic, what does that tell you about where you are now? To me, it says it doesn't matter. Okay? You are where you are. You could be a whole bunch better. You could be a whole bunch worse. But that's where you are right now. So, let's talk about this a little bit in more detail. When we are in those last couple weeks heading into the audition, we want to stop focusing on how much we've done wrong and start focusing more on what we are doing correctly. Okay? This person who asked me about what to do in the last days, I asked him to tell me what is he having trouble with. Everything that he listed was things that take more than a couple weeks to fix. So what are you going to do about that? There's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing you can do about that. Now, am I saying that it's hopeless? No, I'm not saying that it's hopeless. I'm saying that's not where your thoughts should be. This is not the time to be focusing. If you have a bad sound, this is not the time to be focusing on your sound because you're not going to fix a bad sound in 2 weeks. If you have body tension, and I just did a video on body tension, but generally speaking, you don't fix body tension in 2 weeks. If you have articulation problems, generally speaking, you don't fix those in 2 weeks. And I'll even go as far as to say, trying to fix those in the last week will make your performance in the competition worse, not better. You know, there were people who contacted me after I did the video about, um, preparing for auditions. And because I said that I wasn't going to share my strategies. And I think some people had the wrong impression. You know, there's a difference between a strategy and a tactic. Strategy is more long-term. Strategy is how you get to the battle. If you're speaking about it militarily, in terms of like the army or something, strategy is how you get to the battle. Strategy includes stuff like how are you going to get the food? How are you going to feed the soldiers? How are you going to get them there? How are you going to make sure they have enough ammo? How are you going to make sure they're trained well enough? Then the battle is where you exercise your tactics, right? Like in the old days, they used to have volleys. Everybody shooting at the same time. Or you would have open fire. And you use different types of tactics for different scenarios. Well, when you when you apply that concept to preparing for an audition, strategy is what gets you to the audition. Strategy, you don't talk about strategy 2 weeks before. At this stage, going into it 2 weeks before, we're talking now about tactics. How do you win with what you've got? And that's what I'm taking from this student, this junior high student. He wants to know what to do now. What do you do at this point? You're only days or a couple weeks away from the audition. What do you do now? Because the strategy stuff, if your men don't have enough food, you're going to have to just deal with that now because the enemy is right there at your doorstep. You just make do, you make it happen, you make it work. Okay? So what do we do about what kind of strategies can we put into place? One of the strategies is so one of the things you want to keep in mind is that the biggest reason why better students don't win is because they freak out. They get nervous. So let's say you're not as qualified. Let's say you're not as prepared. Let's say you're not as good of a trumpet player as the next guy. But if you can keep your cool and do your best, you can beat the guy who's better than you and more prepared than you. You can place higher than him if he doesn't do his best. And believe me, I've been a judge often enough. Most students don't do their best in the audition. So that's what you want to be thinking about now. What do you do to prevent yourself from freaking out? What do you do to make sure that you give the judges your best work, your best performance? What do you do now? And so some of the things that we want to look at in terms of strategy, in terms of tactics, is we want to look at stuff like how to not be nervous, okay? And now that is also a strategy thing, but there are some things you can do to help not be nervous. For example, don't be paying attention and judging everybody else in the room. Don't do that. That only invites criticism on yourself in your own head. Okay? I hope that makes sense. because it's a biblical thing, actually, right? Judge not that ye be not judged. If you sit there during the audition saying, "Oh, that guy's horrible. He's got a bad sound. Oh, he can't tongue at all. He's missing all the notes." If you do that while you're performing, you will also have that condemnation raining upon you. So that's one tactic, is to ignore what everybody else is doing. And that's just as true in the warm-up room. Don't listen to who plays high notes and who can play it real fast. Oh, that's another thing. Don't sit there and say, "Oh, those guys are playing it faster than me," and think that you need to now play it fast. Stay focused. Do what you do. And here's another one. Sing the music. Don't play the music. Don't be a robot. So what do you do in the last 2 weeks leading up to it? You learn how to sing the music. You should have been doing that all along, but now this is something you can do now. You can turn off all the other stuff. Stop worrying about this rhythm, that note. Stop worrying about it. You can't fix that stuff now. What you can do is go in there with more abandon and be expressive. Play it the way that sounds good to you. But you got to practice that. So if you've got 5 days left, spend that 5 days expressing yourself through that music. All right? Some people will say, well, you can't express yourself if you can't actually play the notes yet. I disagree. The way I teach my students, I teach them to be expressive first. Right? Even if they make a mistake, be expressive. If you get expression going now, and that's your bottom line, right? You're going into it, bottom line. Now, that said, I don't believe in being expressive on exercises, and there's a reason for that. I won't go into it now. So, like, if you're playing your scales, don't go, we don't want that. That's when we want mechanical. Right? No style, no phrasing, no vibrato, none of that stuff. Okay? But yes, we want to get to a point where we're musical always, expressive always, except for the exercises. So I guess what I'm saying, always when you're playing a piece of music. Right? So that's the general thing, is you just want to do things that help you stay focused and do your best job. Don't compare yourself to other people. Do the best that you can do with what you've got. I've never had an AllState student, someone who made AllState, never had an AllState student who got to the audition thinking, yes, I'm ready. Let's do this. Okay? There's always that little bit that you think, oh, do you know what? I wish I could do this better. I wish I could do that better. That's that infinity thing that you saw in the image. There's no limit to how good you can play the A2. So where do you say, oh, now I'm done? You never reach done. You don't reach done. There's no done. You're continually, there's songs that I've been playing for almost 50 years, really, if you think about it that way. There's songs I play today that I learned in beginning band, like When the Saints Go Marching In. I still play that one for money. And I learned it my first year playing trumpet. Been playing it that long, I'm still trying to get better at playing that song. So no, there's no point in time when you say, oh yes, I'm good enough now. So at this point, I don't know, I'm repeating myself, but at this point, that's what you want to do, is you want to, you know what a good exercise might be? Sit down and instead of listing all your negatives, make a list of all your positives and focus on that. And I know that sounds like a new age philosophy thing. It's not, okay? Yeah, and we're not saying be ignorant of the stuff that you need to fix, but there are things that can't be fixed between now and that time, okay? So it's time to actually look at your strengths. Take inventory. Take inventory, and the things that you're good at, be good at that. You know, uh, I don't advertise many things in these videos, but I want to mention that, you know, we were talking earlier about strategy is how you get to the audition. I have a book. Now, this is going to help you this year. It'll help you for next year. I have a book that I wrote called the AllState Prep Book for trumpet. And the idea of the book is it has all the stuff you should be good at, all the stuff you should master. During that time, after solo contest is over, and the time when they announce the region music in July, there's a number of months there, and it depends on your school. Different schools have solo contest on different days, different parts of the year. So it depends on your school, but there's a number of months there that you don't have a major contest that you have to work up as an individual. So what we do with my students is we work on that AllState Prep book during that time to give you the skills that you need so that when the music comes out, you already can't have those skills. You don't have to. See, this is what makes most people not make AllState, is that they don't have the skills when the music comes out. So when the music comes out, they have to not only learn the music, they have to learn the skill that they need to play the music. And to make matters worse, if that's how you learn that skill, is in a panic because you have to use it for like something like triple tongue or certain arpeggios and stuff like that. If that's something that you have to learn at the last minute so that you can do the audition, it's not going to be your best work. So I want to strongly recommend that you buy my AllState Prep book. There's a link to a video about that book here. And then there's links in the description for that video that'll show you where to get the book. You can go to my website, eddielewis.com, and there's a menu item for books. Go to the book page, and it'll have information there on how to get the book. But yes, if you're not a senior and you want to focus more on what you should be doing for next year's AllState, I strongly encourage you to get that book. And, you know, if you don't have a teacher, make videos of yourself playing the etudes and send them to me. And I'll critique you. Probably not for free. Okay? I do have also something, and since I'm advertising stuff, I have this thing that I call practice tests. And if you do buy the AllState Prep book, you can make a video of yourself practicing the etude. Send it to me. Now, I charge you for that. It's not free. But send it to me, and I'll tell you everything you need to change in the way you're practicing so that you can be a better practicer. Anyway, so I know that's a tangent. Let me recap the thing about the tactics. We want to do our best. We want to be focused. We want to not be thinking about the stuff that we're not good at. Show our best, put our best foot forward. Show the judges what we're best at. And whatever you do, don't let what other people do make you freak out and not do your best. All right, there's more to it than that. True stage fright cures are long-term cures, but there are things we can do in the short term that greatly reduce the effects of, nervousness, stage fright. All right. Well, I hope that answers your questions. If you have other questions, ask below. Other than that, God bless you, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.